welcome everyone to episode 57 of the Our Two Cents podcast, where we typically talk about film, but will not be doing so this episode. But still, stick on by, because it'll still be an interesting episode, right, Chris?
Oh, it's a big week.
It's a big...
Brothers.
Yes. Brothers of all kind.
Yes.
Starks and Lannisters and Tullys and Martells.
Fuck
And,
the Lannisters.
there we go. And there's the flag for the episode.
Flag Nation.
Nice and early. If you don't know what we're referring to, damn. If you do know what we're referring to,
Heat.
yeah, I mean, at this point, it's no secret. We're reviewing the first episode of season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Go, boy!
Some people have been waiting for this for years. Some people like me have been waiting for this for like less than 24 hours because I binged it.
You just made it in time.
I literally just made it. And it was glorious binging sessions. But here we are, season 8, the ultimate... Not ultimate.
Well, you could say that.
The ultimate season makes no sense. The final season's here. Episode 1 of 6. We're going to chat about it. Obviously, we're going to spoil the shit out of it. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend you watch all the seasons and then watch last night's episode, or 2 nights ago's episode.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk.
I've been waiting to talk about
All
this
right.
for a while.
Go ahead, because you've been very excited, more than me, for longer than I have.
Yeah.
Go on.
So, I mean, I guess we're big fans of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I wouldn't say we're diehard fans because we haven't read the books and all that stuff. But
no.
I've gotten into it.
Yeah.
I've done some like research on the background of it.
Nice.
I really fell in love with the world of it.
Nice.
So obviously, the hype around this is probably the biggest show in the world.
Yeah, easily.
So season 8, obviously, I guess because you couldn't really like savor that moment because you just made it in time. So you're just like, I can't wait for Game of Thrones season 8.
Yeah.
You're just like, it's on tonight. Me on the other hand, I've been waiting for like a few months.
Some people have been waiting for years.
Yeah.
Which
By
is
the
great.
way,
yeah.
You people that are just like, oh, I don't watch Game of Thrones. Am I like different? Shut up. You're not cool. Stop it.
Chris, we
watch Shark
accept
Tank.
we accept everybody and people with names and no names on this show.
Nah, but we out here. So season 8 finally premiered.
Right.
And I'm gonna give you 2 perspectives.
Okay.
One perspective is viewing that episode as its own thing.
Right.
And then how it is as like a premiere episode.
Okay.
As its own episode, I thought it was good.
Right.
You know, it has its moments.
Right.
But as a premiere and as an episode that establishes the rest of the season, I thought it was very strong.
Okay.
Extremely strong.
Right.
I had a lot of positives, few negatives. There's very the flaws. I want to say negatives.
Yeah, we won't be rating this.
Yeah, we're not
obviously.
gonna rate
We're going
them.
to wait for the finale.
We're going to go the True Detective route.
Yep.
So, I really enjoyed it. Should we like kind of just get into it?
Yeah, dude, get into it. Tell me about your moments. Go on.
You're gonna agree with my statements.
Sure.
What this episode did is that I thought was the strong point is that it got everything out of the way,
Right.
which means it got like the baggage out of the way. The reunions are there. You got all the secrets out. By the way, spoiler alert. Jon finds out he's a Targaryen.
Crazy.
Sam tells him all that stuff. So everything that like those kind of things, which they are major, but like
major revelations
right,
anyway. Yeah.
but they're not like the crux part. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They got that out of the way, so now they could go straight into it.
Right.
So there's no lingering. It's like, oh man, he's got to tell him now and this and that and whatever.
Right.
The cinematography shots in this show.
Yeah, I mean the dragon ride, right? I think that's where you see some of the
like a
best
roller
ones.
coaster ride, but also like the ice. I mean the coldness. I think it was in Iceland. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's where they film them. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm glad they got that out. I'm so excited. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Chris, please.
Yeah, they got that out of the way. Got some really good shots. I will say this, and I don't know because for me, Game of Thrones took a dip in quality after season 4. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, I felt season 6 was not the best season for
Excluding the last 2 episodes. I think the last 2 episodes are masterful.
What are the last 2?
Battle of the Bastards and then the Cersei killing the
The temple, right? Yeah, those 2 are definitely, they stand out. Season 6 in general felt a bit like a slog at times, and a bit too by the numbers.
Yeah, and also I think that season 7, I think it was affected because I feel like it was just build up for this season. So it couldn't be its own thing.
Yeah, I mean, this show, there's a clear pattern in this show. Like, if you were to graph this shit, it picks up, it spikes at 9, and then dips again.
Yeah, yes,
I think that's the pattern for a lot of the seasons. Unfortunately, I feel like the first couple seasons, you didn't see it coming, so it impacted you differently than when, like, let's say season 6, right? And I'm not judging the quality of an episode like the bastard battle, for example. I'm just sort of criticizing more so how us knowing that episode 9s are going to be so historically good impact, I think, how much importance the other episode gets, where it feels like, well, let's just get through all this to get to 8, 9, and 10. Well, it's not necessarily how it should be, right? I mean, every episode should carry along with it a good amount of heft. Granted, not every episode is going to carry the same amount of heft, right? I still feel like 6 especially kind of leaves a little bit too much on the table in the early episodes, and then has to be not bailed out by any measure, but it's sort of that, Game of Thrones quality can only be hit when those major events happen. And I guess that's the MO of the show. It's not a show necessarily built on conversations ending seasons, but explosions and battles ending seasons, which is fine. This is the sort of show it is. But yeah, I mean, and that sort of feeds into how this episode is.
Listen to them.
But anyway, go on.
Yeah, so and I completely agree with what you're saying. And I feel like it wasn't like that in the first 4, because I think they were still trying to establish like a world, And I feel like when the show gained popularity, even though it was already popular and it became like a mega show, I feel like they use those moments. They kind of use the reputation in a way as like, we could do this.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the Game of Thrones does this a lot. There's a lot of shock value in the show that covers up its flaws. Oh yeah. Like, people would be like, "Yo, that was amazing," because they're amazed by it. Yeah. And they get too overwhelmed by that they kind of forget about some of the major flaws in the show.
It's a show that is very much about stuff happening.
Yeah, and by the way, we're kind of like going on all of the
yeah. At least on the surface. Yeah. And I think the majority, so the fans. See, I don't like generalizing. I just feel like much of the love for the show comes from the sheer amount of just shit that happens. Yeah. Right? And it happens cohesively for the most part. Yeah. So I think much of the love is for that, right? Whereas I think the underlying subtleties of the show are lost. I think because just the surface level of, and this is why it is a special show, and I think it's why it gets a lot of plaudits. It's because if you just interpret the surface level, it is a fantastic piece of art, right? If you dig a little bit deeper, I think you can find issues here and there. Oh yeah. But I think so many people, there's nothing like this before. This is essentially a 8-season game of Russian roulette, is how it's been in my mind. And we as fans have been playing in it and have been engaging in it, which has been extremely fun. But then you have episodes like this, I feel, to bring it back, where I feel like the show attempts to give this depth. And there was backlash from some people that it was slow, not enough things happened.
But why?
But this is what I mean. I feel like, and I'm actually gonna get to this point right now. I genuinely believe now there's such thing as being too popular for a movie, for a TV show, or something like that, especially when it's not finished. Right. Because I feel like no ending to this is going to be satisfactory.
Oh, it's probably going to be the most mixed reaction of any show.
Because there's nothing. There's no ending that can blow your mind. There's nothing.
Yeah, everyone has a different preference.
Too many preferences, too much expectations, I think, have blown this up to the point where there's no finale on planet Earth that's going to fulfill this fantasy that everybody has, right? And this is why we're doing our pool. Yeah. This is why I have nobody sitting on the throne. And I understand that might be a cop-out, but every other answer to me is equally cop-out-ish. Yeah, so if I'm going to go for a cop-out, go for the most cop-out.
Yeah, I feel that.
Right? Go for the one where at least there's some thematic point he's going to try to make. Now, does that mean there's going to be nobody sitting on the throne? No. there may be somebody sitting on the throne. I just feel like no matter what the show does, there's going to be this blowback. And this episode for me is case in point. I think there's very few things wrong with this episode.
I'll tell you that. All right, let me get to the flaws in this
go ahead.
episode. And they're very small. There were some moments of dialogue I wasn't a big fan of.
Okay.
You know, there were just some times where it's just like the first thing we hear is Tyrion.
Yeah.
Talking to Varys and just cutting his ass about his balls. I'm like,
yeah.
All right. I mean, I guess it's Tyrion's character, but why is that the first thing we're hearing right now?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, we're in a moment of seriousness.
Yeah.
The time to be cutting ass about Varys.
We've been past that.
Past it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? And there's also like the Jon and Daenerys scene.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite moments of the episode.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but is this time for that? Maybe. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. And it's not really a flaw because I think that's going to be important in future episodes.
Yeah.
Jon riding the dragon.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
that was a bit long.
it was a bit long. And I'm just like, there's shit that has to be going on right now. I'm like, literally, you have a day, technically, till the big dogs pull up.
Yeah.
And you're like,
riding
dragons being lovey-dovey, which is fine because I know that the latest couple seasons are built through the relationship between Jon and Daenerys. Hot people hotting it up.
Yeah, hot people hotting it up
That's
is what this show's about, dog. Yeah.
And that
shout out to Bronn, who's not the hottest, but still hots it up.
He hots it up.
Just shout out.
But no, that's basically, and also like Sansa's getting me annoyed.
Why?
Okay, here's the thing.
Go ahead.
I get that Daenerys pulling up, there has to be a level of salt.
Yeah.
She's pulling up to your hometown.
Yeah.
And she's claiming all this.
She came back with the king kneeling, which I think is huge.
Right. So, and I love the fact that the reaction to Jon was mixed.
Yeah.
It had to be.
It had to
be like, it's all good, bro.
Yeah.
No. I thought that was really good. But Sansa needs to understand this because I think that she's had one of the best character arcs development, at least. Because she's gone to annoying, at least whatever, to Sixth Man of the Year award.
Well, she's gone from like a bland character to somebody now whose actions make a whole lot of sense.
And I think at this point, she should understand that Jon is the one to trust, right? Egos have to be put aside in this season.
But here's okay, and I'm actually going to bring this up because I read a great article today that was written 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago. No, actually, it might be 2 years. It was in the Economist, and it was talking about whoever ends up on the throne,
right?
Okay, will. It's not just a decision about who, right? It needs to be a thematic thing that the show is telling you. For example, if Ramsay Bolton ended up on the throne, the thing that we fans would get is evil's going to win out.
Okay, so I want to rebound off this.
Right, go ahead.
Because this actually, I was having a chat with my friend Dom. Shout out to Dom. See, again, it goes back to what we were saying. My preference is that the White Walkers win.
Why?
Because I am a fan of a show taking that much of a risk.
But, like, what does that tell you about the show?
No. And so then his counterclaim, which I understood, because he's like, there has to be a level of catharsis in this.
There has to be some point that they're trying to make.
But this show, I feel like, has made the point. I think Ramsay said it once. He's like, if you think this is a happy ending, then you haven't been paying attention.
Right, okay. Right, so the show can't have a happy ending for the sake of a happy ending.
Right. It just can't.
And the article talks about this. It talks about why Ned had to die.
Right.
Ned dies not because he's not good or just or right. It's because he is to a fault.
Right.
And Jon is to a fault.
Yeah.
Right? Now you say Sansa is supposed to trust him. Maybe. The last time she did, his ass almost got rocked.
Okay,
at
Sansa,
the battle.
then you fight Bolton and his men then.
But but you see, and I saw the episode not a week ago, right? And I remember watching it, and I see Jon making the mistake that he's not supposed to make, that he knew he was not supposed to make, the mistake that Sansa told him not to make. So he is someone, and the show tells you this multiple times, the mistake he's going to make is one out of justness, and that's going to lead to his downfall. And the show, I think, will ultimately tell you can't do that and be a good ruler.
No, I understand that.
You can't just be good and expect to rule because other people who are evil and shit won't play that game with you.
They won't.
So you need to play at their game with your morals, right? Which is difficult. But Sansa does it better than Jon for me.
But this could I don't think there's a wrong answer here because Sansa, I think her mentality, she's gone through the mental side of it, right?
Yes.
Where Jon has gone through the physical side.
Right.
So obviously you understand both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Which is fine. But
let me tell you this. What has Jon learned after he got stabbed by the wildlings? What has the Night's Watch. What has he learned?
Trust is like minimal in like Westeros.
Right. You can't just think because he did the right thing. No one is arguing. I think no one in the Night's Watch looked at him and said, saving people is wrong. Mm-hmm. I don't think many of them disagreed with it. What they disagreed with him is, you can't put us in that position to make that choice. Right. We're not the ones to make that choice. Our choice has already been decided for us.
But so what is Sansa's gripe here?
Her gripe is...
Give me in your words.
The gripe is the fact that Jon comes into that city with the queen, telling everyone he bent his knee. And his explanation is still an explanation of, well, we got to fight the White Walkers. Here's the thing. It doesn't work like that with people. And the show tells you this consistently. To be a good ruler, it doesn't just mean you do the right thing and then that's what you tell people. It's the right thing. No, it's not. You have to know how to play the game, man.
I completely get what you're saying. And
Jon doesn't know how to play.
He doesn't know how to play. But what you're talking about and what Sansa's looking at is a long-term thing. Right. But Jon, in my opinion, because here's the thing. The show's going so fast in these last episodes that what Jon's goal here is it's a very short-term thing because the threat's coming.
Sure.
Right? In my opinion, Sansa, and I get it, the skepticism about what's been going on, and like I understand that Jon's made mistakes, but you got to put that aside because the proof is there, and you have multiple accounts of people agreeing because they've seen it.
Well, look. Last season, when they meet in that little arena,
Dragon,
and he refuses to lie to Cersei.
Yeah.
Right,
because he gives a good explanation, by the way.
Right, okay. And then what happens? Cersei straight up lies to him, and he eats that shit.
Yeah.
Okay? That is, for me, quintessential why Jon is going to get his ass wrecked
in
this season. Absolutely.
No, I can't see Jon.
He is going to get wrecked in this season because of this problem, dude. He refuses to recognize that at some point, you have to suspend your morals if the opposition isn't playing by your rules.
No.
And they're not. And I'll tell you this. You say, Jon needs to get everybody on his side because the threat is looming. He's known about this threat for roughly, 3 seasons now? 3.5 seasons. Look how quick and with what less power Cersei flipped the script on the Sparrow. From the position she was in to where she came. She went from being a prisoner to now ruling the kingdom in how many episodes? With one move.
I'll counter that. Counter that.
Yeah, go for it.
This is a really good
go for it.
And we're kind of getting away from the actual episode itself. This is becoming a Game of Thrones discussion.
Yeah.
I will argue that the thing with for Jon, it's more difficult to convince people because the White Walkers have this mythology about them that not a lot of people are convinced in.
Okay.
Right? And Cersei, and let's not forget, Cersei has more sources to deal with that threat. Obviously, and again, this goes to the fault of the show that the tides turned a little too easily.
Sure.
And that.
Yeah.
But Cersei still had, I think, she has more, power than Jon. Obviously, from a resources standpoint. That she could deal with the Sparrow easily than Jon can.
Who did she have to deal with the Sparrow? She had Qyburn. She had the Mountain. Who else?
I'm just saying, but then again, you have to look at the Lannister lineage. Do you have the name value here that backs you up?
But she was in a jail cell and then she was a prisoner.
So I guess the show's flaws make it seem,
My thing with Jon is you have to know how to spin a story to convince people. He doesn't. He thinks that if I just tell the truth, people are going to believe it. That's not how politics works.
I know.
If that was the case, then the kindest person would be leading us. We don't have that. We've never had that. Societies never have the nicest person leading us or the most just because you don't want that.
So how do you think Jon should have dealt with all this?
I think, but see, this is the thing. I'm not criticizing Jon's approach. I'm criticizing his flaw in his character. This is in line with his character. This is 1,000% in line with his character, I feel. Because he is always going to believe that if I do the right thing at the right time, I'm going to vindicate myself at the end, which is what got Ned killed. And which is what got him killed. And he got brought back. We don't know why. We'll see why as the show progresses, right? But I feel like that'll be his flaw. Cersei has another flaw. Her flaw is she's the other extreme. She plays the game all the time. She doesn't know how to turn that shit off. So she has enemies everywhere.
She has what John has, but to like a different.
It's the other extreme, right? And that'll be her flaw. She has too many enemies. Whereas John doesn't know how to say, okay, wait, I have a situation here. How can I eloquently convince people?
Or how do I play to everyone's standards?
Like, recall this, for example, when he goes and the Queen of Mormont, right?
Yeah, she's like, you're kind of a bitch now.
I love her. Yeah. I love her. But in the first meeting they have, which is I think the season before or 2 seasons before that, he goes up to her and he tries to say, oh, you know, I fought with your dad and blah, blah. She's like, cut the shit. She's like, cut the shit, tell me what you want. Yeah. And he does, and she gets upset. He gets his ass saved because Sir Devos talks his way into it, right?
You gotta like kind of like make.
What does Devos do? Do you know what Devos does? He hypes up John.
Yeah.
Do you recognize John never hypes himself up in the show?
Bro, John is like the most morally.
But this is what I mean. He doesn't hype. You are supposed to be. He was a former Night's Watch leader.
He has a Paul Heyman.
Yeah, right. He has a hype. He always needs a hype man. And even in the room when he's talking in this episode, who hypes him up? Tyrion hypes him up.
Yeah.
He always needs a hype man. He can't sell that he's a good leader, even though people believe he's a good leader, which is a very conflicting existence.
I agree with you, and I think that Tyrion. I think that him being like Ned's quote unquote bastard son,
right?
LOL.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, okay, Ned was good. He's good.
And he's proven it.
He's proven it. But this is why I don't understand. Like, in my opinion, actions speak louder than words.
I hear you. And I had this conversation with my sister. She's like, well, people should be understanding that there's this threat coming and that we need to just band together, deal with the threat. I'm like, it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And the world of Game of Thrones, I mean, this is real life too.
It's the world.
Yeah.
The world. I mean, bro, if everybody on this planet woke up tomorrow and said, we're going to end famine and end poverty, you probably do it.
Yeah.
We just don't do it. There's a reason for it. It's not because it's not the right thing to do, right? And it's not like, don't you wish kids in Africa weren't starving or kids in Asia weren't starving, kids in North America weren't starving? Yeah, hell yeah, I do. What am I doing about it? Jack shit.
I agree.
Jack shit. Now, if there's a leader telling you like, oh yeah, this thing's happening, you've never seen it with your own eyes, but you're meant to believe him? Yeah, okay, kind of. But then he's doing shit like bowing down to this foreign queen, and he hasn't told you he was going to do that.
No, he did. But I also think there should be a level of trust with John that he's doing this for a reason. I do understand that you're named King of the North, and then you're like whatever.
Right.
But I don't feel like if you're asking me a reason why. I mean, if I'm John and people are asking me, like, why'd you bend the knee? I'm going to give you a legitimate reason. You don't just say, I'm bending the knee because she's hot.
But, no, right. I hear you. But the answer that he's going to give, which he did give, we needed allies, and so this is what I did, is not convincing enough to these people. He should know that. So what he should say is, he's not clever. John is not clever.
Well, he knows everything now.
He's not clever. And there's actually, there's a great line, I think it was, I don't know if it's this episode or the one in the previous season, where I think he's talking to Tormund about along the lines of, will you come and fight for me? And he says, yeah. He's like, are you sure? And there's this like moment of this, I think it's between Sir Devos and Tormund.
Okay.
Before the battle of the Bastards. I think it's that one. And he says, we're not like you Southerners. We don't say we're going to do something and not do it.
Right.
We're not clever like that.
Right.
Northerners are not clever. Mm-hmm. Rob, not clever. Ned, not clever. You know who's clever? Cersei. Arya's clever.
Arya, Cersei.
Sansa's clever. Cersei's clever.
Well, here's the thing. I think that they've gone through mental stuff.
Exactly.
Right. So, I mean, look, we could talk about this the whole episode.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. Yeah.
I just think that Sansa, her level of... No, and I get what you're saying.
Sure.
And so... Personally, I just felt annoyed that obviously the level of trust minimizes.
Yeah.
But if you know that John, who has had your back, even though it's been a couple seasons of them together, he has your back. There is no like malicious intent here.
I don't think she thinks John is ever going to be malicious. You know what she thinks? She thinks he's doing what he believes is right, but the right thing is not the right thing in her eyes, which is what the former Night's Watch leader tells John before he hangs him. He tells him, like, you forced me to make a choice, even though in your heart I believe you think you're doing the right thing, but it's not the right thing in the grand scheme of the world or whatever, which is what Sansa's trying to get to. She knows. Everybody knows John. He's pure-hearted. He's nice. He's whatever, all this shit. But that doesn't always mean you're going to make the right decision. Just because you're good doesn't mean you're going to make the right decision, right?
Right. No,
So you need to convince, simply pointing to your previous efforts and saying, see how good I was before, that's why you should believe me, is not necessarily all you can say. It's not.
I don't think he does that, though. John doesn't be like, yo, peep what I just did.
In fact, he doesn't even do that. He doesn't make any point for why. Why should we believe him? Why should you trust him?
John has various accounts that could back him up, and various accounts that are actually, like, heavily trusted.
Sure.
So I don't know. If you're asking me, like, how's Glover, which, again, slacked on John because, remember, he didn't pull up. He just stayed in that island.
Glover. Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
So if House Glover is saying, well, why should we trust John?
Yeah.
And then you have Tyrion, which I guess is a Lannister, and so there's that level of skepticism. But Tyrion is a well-known figure. You have,
but he's not respected in the North.
I understand that. Let me finish.
Right.
And I guess there's a bunch of these accounts, but in my opinion, there's such powerful names, and the fact that John has united them alone should tell you, okay, maybe we should have that level of trust. Because if you keep... Okay, John brought the wildlings.
Right.
He has...
Which is creating its own problem.
Well,
there's distrust from every side of the camp here. He brought Targaryens into the city. He brought Unsullied into the city. Dothraki into the city. Wildlings into their city.
That action, it's supposed to be good, but then everyone's taking a look at it.
But this is my point. He should recognize if I'm bringing... It's not enough to say... Ultimately, we're going to be good. Just eat shit now because ultimately we're going to be like, no, we can't just eat shit now. What if you're wrong and we just eat shit the entire time? What happens then? Like, he is not a clever ruler.
Well, that's why I don't think, even if John does live, he's not.
He's not because he knows he's not clever. He knows this. That's why he's constantly.
We talked to him about this.
Yes, we personally talked to Jon Snow. He has constantly tried to turn down every title he's got. He didn't want to be the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. He didn't want to be king. He knows he's not meant for this shit because he's not clever enough to be a goddamn king. But he needs to assume the role because that's the best they can do for now. Sansa is which is why she's been proven right. So she outmaneuvered Baelish, dog.
No, she did. I'll give her that.
Who else has outmaneuvered Baelish in the show? No one.
No, I get it.
No one.
I'm just, again, my concluding.
Oh, it's fine. Argument. I think our conversation will hold. One of our conversations will hold weight as the show moves forward.
And I think there's a lot of people that are going to agree with my point of view and your point of view,
which is nice.
There's no, in my opinion, and this is like a cop out. Basically, even the show is Cop Out Nation. There's no wrong answer.
Game of cop outs.
There's no wrong answer here.
Yeah.
If you think, I thought Sansa Stark was a little too.
I'll give you that. She was very quick to jump on his back about bringing her in. I'll give you that. Because he did deliver technically what he promised.
Yeah.
Right? It's just under some crazy asterisk shit, right? But moving on.
Okay.
After that 30-minute conversation.
Yeah, so this is going to be really good. And I'm trying to think what...
I have some other points here. So I want to
go ahead.
So here's what I didn't like about this episode.
By the way, acting's top notch.
Oh,
we don't got to talk about the acting.
I mean, screw that shit. They're 8 seasons and clearly they're doing something right with the actors.
They're really good, man.
So it's something I want to point out. I don't like the Theon and
too quick, too rushed.
Dude, he gets in again. This is the same uncle that like tore down a whole fleet.
He's too busy smashing Cersei. By the way,
hold on a second. Is that all it takes to confuse him? Is just to give him that?
No, this was one of my fears going into the season. Is that they're just going to rush through everything.
There's so many moving parts. So oddly enough, that's the one group of people that's not at Winterfell.
Thank God. It's packed there.
Yeah, I mean I love it. But Theon's arc is
One of the best ones in my opinion.
is hilarious to me because they took it so slow for so long, and now it's just straight up being rushed left and right.
Yeah.
It is so rushed, dude. He goes from so he's the tortured, and then he helps he redeems himself, and then he goes back to being a shit. But now that time between those moments is greatly squished together. So he's turning left and right every few episodes.
Dude, for me, this season is WrestleMania. There is a bunch of storylines. And I thought that Theon's storyline with Euron was going to take the whole 6 episodes.
No, I he's going to go back to. I mean, I think they're going to pick a bit. It's going to be like a side thing. It's going to be very side for me.
But why? He's going through Ramsay's
again. Yeah. See, this is the thing. Like, you give him so much time in the beginning. I don't know how the other 5 episodes are going to go, which is why no score till we get there. But for me, that was way too quick. That getting in, she's rescued, she goes like way too quick. Yeah. Second thing, on that dragon scene, very minor thing. It felt very un-Game of Thrones-ish.
Yeah.
It felt like I was watching like some like happy-go-lucky show.
This should have happened in season 7.
Maybe we need those moments. I don't know.
Well, no, because I do think, fan service would be Jon and his dragon versus the Night King and his dragon.
I mean, we'll get there.
Hopefully.
We'll get there. But those are my like quibbles with it.
They're fun scenes, though.
Points I liked. So this... why I like this episode, and it's very odd people miss this. People who are criticizing it as, quote, nothing happened. This episode is important because it puts Jon back at a level of discomfort with Dany that he didn't want to be at. Because he thought that he got away from it after that whole initial thing where he's like, I won't bend the knee. And then, he proves that the walkers are real, and then they seem to come together and understand each other. Here we have now a wedge being placed firmly between the two of them, that now he has to basically ask for the thing that she's been wanting her whole life.
And this is on top of the White Walkers.
And this is on top of every... Yeah. My clock, everything.
Biological clock.
Is there anything else we can put on this? That is my cousin Vinny reference.
If you knew that, go.
Highly recommend the movie. But yeah, so it puts a wedge again between the two characters who are just way too happy with each other, and they're literally the two most powerful people.
Well, this is why I think Varys has a very important line. Nothing lasts.
The three of them, I love that the 3 advisors are together.
Gang, they links. The last 2 seasons of Game of Thrones has been links.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Straight links.
I mean, this episode is a gang type of episode.
Gang Thrones.
Yeah, so I really like the fact that he now is at uneasiness with her again, because the fact he's going to go up to her and tell her this revelation, she's not obviously going to believe it, right? Obviously, and she's going to question what the hell's going on now.
Well, this is a strong point, because now
it is for me. It is
Jon versus Daenerys.
Exactly, you're getting that discomfort between your two most powerful characters.
You can't be happy.
Yeah, it's not supposed to go swimmingly for you, right? And this puts it back into perspective that even though they're comfortable with each other, here's another obstacle between them. Second thing I wanted to point out, very small, but I like it. This is the first time Bronn is going to have to make a moral decision.
Thank God, because the whole time has been castle sex.
Yeah, no, because he's gotten away with simply being
Bronn.
paid.
Yeah,
and really his actions haven't had moral consequences. This is the first time he's getting paid, and I believe, feels morally conflicted.
Yeah.
And this is great because this is a character I think a lot of people like. He's, shoots off the cuff. He's funny. He's all that. And he saved Jaime's ass. And he's sort of grown from a side character to a lot of people's, secondary favorite person.
Dude, he's been this Lannister savior.
Yeah, he served Tyrion. He served Jaime.
And now he's serving Cersei.
And now here,
I don't think he's going to...
There's this conflict now. What is he going to do?
Yeah. That
right?
There you go.
And again, people are missing that. I feel like that's going to be important because this might be a cheap way of getting him to Winterfell, maybe. But for me, I think it's an acceptable way because, again, he's an assassin. Yeah. Cersei's all about paying people to do her bidding for her. And he falls into that. But he's in a gray spot. And I think for the first time, as far as I can remember, he hasn't been in a gray spot before. So
I don't think he's going to do it, though.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. But still,
I want to win the pool.
But still, here's the thing: moral decisions. When characters have to make decisions, it tells you about them. And I think the more you get of that, the more you either like or hate the character, but at least you feel some sort of way. If the character is not making decisions, who cares?
Right.
Who cares? The thing I wanted to, Sam's character in this episode grows a little bit as well. He matures a lot because now not only has he had to deal with death, but he is now the head of his family. And that sword that he, quote, stole is his now. All right? So we saw Sam, very rushed kind of maybe, grow in front of us in the fact that he may have taken a little bit too much kindness in telling John that, hey, yo, you meant to be the king, bro, not her.
By the way, why isn't John reacting to her being his aunt?
Because I guess that's commonplace. I don't know what's up.
Yeah, it's got to be. I'm like, wait, that's my aunt.
Wait, what?
Like, he just took the king thing as like.
Yeah, because I think that's, again, maybe.
It's a nitpicky thing, I guess.
Yeah, no.
But great acting by John.
Both
John
of them.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Well,
Again,
easy, simple thing.
Another piece of great acting, Jamie and Brian.
Okay, now so that the memes of Bran Stark.
This is my last point too. So yeah.
So this is Jamie, in my opinion, has the best character arc.
He's had a really good one. Yeah.
I mean, it could be tied between him, Sansa, Theon.
Yeah.
Whatever. But Jamie,
Ned.
I think
Ned's had a great character arc.
Ned.
IMO.
IRL. Jamie, I think, but he's gonna be the one to make the complete transformation.
I think so. Well, yeah, because everybody else is on the good side isn't going to turn to shit.
Yeah.
But this is classic last minute turn to the good side, taking an L.
He's taking a Clegane as L.
This is a classic L.
The scene is great, and there's so much being said without any words.
Yeah.
Right. So. Shout out to my boy Mirza. Bran, you knew from like season 3, crucial part of the story.
Yeah. This mysticism part. Yeah.
So Bran, of course, is that guy.
Yeah.
So now, whatever scene Bran's in, I'm fully 100% focused.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you need this.
Yeah.
And I love it right away in the beginning of the episode. This is kind of like,
we got to move forward.
He's like, yo, your dragon's a nice thing.
Yeah.
Let's go. They're pulling up.
Which is kind of ironic.
Yeah, it's ironic.
Considering what happened.
But
in
I'm
the
glad. Again, big positive. Get this shit out of the way.
Yeah.
So the ending, great acting by
both of them.
Yeah, I mean,
Bran is whatever.
Really,
yeah.
It's a reunion that we've been since episode 1.
Essentially, yeah. It's been 8 seasons coming.
I do think Jamie will be redeemed, and I think Brienne of Tarth will be the one to be like, hey, yo, Mac. Chill.
Yeah.
I think she's gonna step up. What did you get from that scene, and B, what do you take away from it?
I think Jamie sees all the consequences that have unfolded in that one person.
Yeah. Yes.
He sees
good SAT
all. Yeah, he sees all the chaos that's unfolded in his decision to harm that one person, and how they're both at the same spot again. So I think it's a moment of reflection for him. I don't think he's ever reflected on that moment in the show where he pushed this kid out the window, because he's never had to face it. You know, and when he did have to face Ned, he was always surrounded, and he was cocky and shit. He hadn't gone through this sort of this transformation as a character. So I think this was the first time he had to think about, oh shit, like that's where this all started.
His face,
and it's at Winterfell.
Yeah, where it all started.
So that I think is definitely where that weight of the moment comes in. And I love that they cut it off there, because it's a great place to leave us on.
It was amazing.
I mean, of course, yeah. And it leaves you with this idea of, and that moment I think is a great microcosm of where everybody is. I love the fact that for 7 seasons, everybody and their mom was in 8 different corners of this planet.
Yeah.
And here we are now. Everyone is literally an earshot away from one another. And it's just tension is rife everywhere. Nobody trusts anyone. Everybody has history with everyone. And this is why I from the season before, that meeting they all have
in season
7 where they
it's one of the top moments of the show.
There is so much tension.
Hell yeah, you could cut it off
before Cersei shows up. You're like, Jesus, okay. And then she shows up, and then you're like, where the hell's Daenerys? And she's late. She's traveling by herself.
Pulling up with the
dragons show up. You're like, God damn.
What a flex.
And then Clegane goes up to the mountain, and he like chats in his face.
Yo, the Clegane Bowl is gonna be OD.
Dude, I'm telling you. I mean, yeah, Sandor goes up to the mountain, and he talks to him. Yeah,
Sandor. The only person's called him that.
I'm the only one. Yeah, I like his first name. But so tension there, and it's just things. The show does something very well where in a lot of average TV shows, I think character relationships, something bad happens, then you make up, and then everything is fine.
Right.
In this show, something bad happens, you meet, something bad happens, you meet, something bad happens. You never get over it.
Yeah.
You never sit down with the person and are like, man, we should probably talk about that shit. No, you don't. Because life doesn't like you.
Yeah.
So you're constantly hoarding these negative experiences with people, and you're just side-eyeing everyone because you don't trust anyone. You don't know. You only know the bad shit they did to you.
Even John. At this
Exactly.
point, yeah.
Like even John and Sansa, because she knows she can no longer afford to trust people. Every time she trusted her father couldn't save her.
Well,
right?
that I think just circumstances just kind of going against.
But this is and this is a theme in the show. There's this theme that runs between parents trying to save their kids, and they can't.
Right.
They can't, right? Cersei fails 3 times.
There's a lack of safety in the show.
Yeah, Ned fails because he's not there. He dies, and he doesn't know how his kids are going to end up, right? So there's this theme of parents not being able to save people, and to an extent, people you love not being able to save you. Ygritte dies in Jon's arms. He couldn't save her, right? And so the show constantly pushes that theme. So even if a person loves you, you can't just be like, I'm Gooch.
Yeah.
Like Jon got my back. No, he doesn't. Not because he doesn't love you, but because he can't, right? Which I think is such a good reflection of the world. It's great to surround yourself with loved ones, but at the end of the day, you got to do your own shit.
Especially with just everything that's coming up right now.
Yeah, you got to handle your own shit. And I think Sansa's at that point where she's like, I'm not going to let, even if you love me, I'm not going to let your nonsense drag me down because I've let that happen to me across the board, dude. Her aunt did it to her. Cersei did it to her. Littlefinger, Joffrey. Tyrion is the only one who didn't, right?
Joffrey,
but even he is a
Joffrey.
Lannister. But it's been a constant theme of like her getting wrecked by people she puts her trust in for however much length of time.
No, I agree and I just think circumstances alone have been not on their side.
But I mean, circumstances haven't been on anyone's side.
But especially Sansa.
Yeah.
Who I guess from your argument makes the best argument about what Jon's doing is wrong, even though it does come up as a little too harsh. Especially since
what Jon's doing is a mistake. I wouldn't say wrong. I think it's a mistake. That's how I think she sees it. Is a mistake, not necessarily morally wrong, but is a mistake. Yeah. That's where I'm going to stop because I'm tired. It's 45 minutes.
Arya.
Yo, she's taking out the Night King, brother. She's taking her out.
Props. Big props.
I got that in my pool.
She's my second favorite character.
Dude, I love her. I love her character.
And what's crazy is that, not really that crazy, is that she, again, there's no more, besides Sam, there's no morally good, like even Arya, because she goes to straight she has Klay Thompson game 6 against OKC.
I mean, she goes ham on the,
phrase.
The phrase.
She does.
She straight up wipes an entire house. Wipes a house.
That's wild.
She doesn't raise a finger.
Love it.
Well, she raises one finger just to get the mask first.
Yeah.
But then she raises no finger. She eliminates the entire phrase.
And what's so crazy that the show, what's so effed up about the show is that there's reasoning behind her killings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like you don't falter for it.
Yeah. I think that's what one of the fantastic points of the show is that it's able to convince you of morally questionable decisions by many characters, and you're willing to buy it.
Remember that line? And you love this line.
Oh yeah.
Season 5.
Yeah.
It was Vance or Vance.
Yeah, Mance Raider. Yeah.
He said something. I don't remember what he said. He was just like, I wanted to I wanted to know that I made the wrong decision. Something like that line.
Oh, I'm free, so I can make my own mistakes.
And I think that line carries on.
It carries a lot, and I think to go even further back, right? I think there's I think it's season 1, where Cersei walks in on Tyrion having a drink or some shit. She's like, "Oh, you're deep in thought," and he's like, "Oh, I'm one. It's after Blackwater," and he says, "I deserved more than what I got for my Blackwater thing." I think it's Blackwater, and then she says, if you sat there and you thought about what everybody's supposed to get in life or deserve to get in life, you'd be just crying all day.
Yeah.
And the show is that.
Yeah.
And which is a reflection of life. Not every good person, for the sake of being good, gets what they deserve.
In my opinion, that's the big flaw with Daenerys, is that she keeps bragging's like, yo, I deserve it. I'm like, I get it.
We're gonna see now because she's going to face. This is not an army test. This is not a test of will. It's a test of no. I mean the thing that John is going to go up to her and tell her this is what I've been told.
Well, this is why I think Fahad is being a little too harsh in episode 1 and 2.
You didn't like it?
Well, I don't know, he was just very disappointed by it. Oh, by the way, so like I get that a big flaw with many people was there was no White Walkers.
Who cares?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, I'm coming from a place of not waiting 2 years, so I don't know.
Right, no. But we're going to get plenty of them.
I think so.
I think, at least.
Yeah.
But the thing is, in my opinion, what made up for that, and I'm starting to kind of deviate from the point.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
They make their presence known with the kid and their symbol.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you don't necessarily... The White Walkers are such a big threat,
yeah,
and that their presence is so like well known. You don't need to kind of show them.
Yeah, and in my opinion, sometimes I think it's good that we get different versions of them in the sense that we just don't see them as a blob of evil.
Yeah,
because if it's just a blob of evil all the time, it's like, okay, White Walkers on. All right, cool, they're done.
Yeah.
No, whereas in this one, you see them or you know of their presence in a different way. Like, not only are they just an evil blob, but they're straight up psychotic and they're going to cut you 18 different ways. And, and they have, this symbol shit keeps coming up over and over again. So there's clearly depth to their kind as well.
I don't think they're going to tackle it, though. I think they're going to tackle in the prequel series that there's coming.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of my... the interpretation of what the White Walkers are, I think a lot of people have given their explanations for it. The only thing is, this is one of those situations where the villain is just straight up evil for the sake of evil. And
well, there's a lot of theories.
Well, this is what I mean. I'm simply going off what the show's told me. The show's told me...
What do you think?
I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. The White Walkers have just been a force.
Well, do you have like a leading candidate of like why you think? Of what do you think? Whatever.
I mean, if you interpret that as sort of a theme, it's sort of the things that we can't control, right?
What do you think of the theory that, I know this is kind of outlandish,
that Bran is
the Night King?
I don't know how we get to that.
In my opinion, look,
that's wild bridges to cross.
It is wild bridge. I do think that the evidence is kind of there, but in my opinion, that's too much, too late.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm like, you're gonna show Bran becoming the Night King in the last.
But what's the point?
I don't know. I think
what does that tell us? What does that tell us?
Jesus, Game of Thrones has so many. Like, there's time travel in this that he might go back in time to try and stop it, and then like they kill him instead and make him the White Walker.
I don't know.
The Night King.
I don't know. I don't know. I just. For me, they need to give us some depth on what the White Walkers are. They can't just be zombies. Like, they can't just be hordes of evil shit. I mean, they could. You still serve as a thematic point. But, the Night King stands out. They're not like a blob. Like, somebody's clearly leading them. So there has to be something about that person in particular, or that thing in particular.
I'm so interested in him, though.
Yeah. Like, you want to know more about him, which is why, when you said I want the Night King on the throne, to me it's like, well, what does that say about who the Night King is? And to a grander extent, what is the show trying to tell us about who wins?
When you take about what the show's about, I'm not saying I want the White... This is a personal thing.
Yeah.
I don't want the White Walkers to win because, I mean, again, I don't know the extent of what they want.
Yeah.
That's not the reason why I want to win. For me, I want them to win because this is kind of goes like outside of what we're talking about. I think it'd be a pretty ballsy move because I've never seen a TV show go that route of just ending it like the bad guys winning.
I mean, I get...
Quote-unquote bad guy.
I know what you're saying. I just feel
It'd be
like...
history, dog.
But what does that say about the world then?
Well, no, that's the flawed part. I'm telling you, that's like the more like aesthetic part of me.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. There's a shock factor you want just for that. I personally don't think that'll be the case because
it won't. I know I'm wrong.
There's no sort of there's no catharsis. Yeah, there's no grander. I mean, everything I've ever watched in my life, right? Like, George R. R. Martin didn't write this world up for the sake of evil winning for the sake of evil winning, right? Like, there's a reason Ramsay dies. It's because he's evil for the sake of evil. He doesn't serve a purpose, right? Cersei, in her evilness, serves a purpose.
Yeah, she
right?
Yeah.
She thinks, at least, she's serving a purpose, right? To this world of keeping it clean, keeping it rid of blah, blah, blah. Whereas Ramsay's, like, his torturing doesn't serve anything. It's just to his pleasure.
Psychopath,
yeah. So I think, ultimately, the winner if there is one, has to serve a grander purpose. At least their character has to say something grander about the world that they're in. So I'll leave it at that. We're at 50 minutes. Jesus.
Yeah, overall, I thought really good episode. Really
I liked it.
I liked it a lot.
Yeah, I liked it. It brought us together. Oh, that's why you were hearing it. My headphones were making it. That's why you thought you were hearing it. Never mind. But I love that it was still chess movements. We're gonna get the board flipped.
Chest? Planet Fitness.
Chess. We're gonna get the board flipped upside down. I know this, but let's first play with the pieces that we have, and then we'll see what's going on. So thanks for hanging with us, Chris. As always, a pleasure.
Yeah, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, YouTube.
Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud,
YouTube,
iTunes. That's all 5 of them. Thanks for hanging with us. Next week,
yes,
well, definitely Game of Thrones. We'll see. I don't know what movies are out, but we'll see
in 2 weeks we're getting Endgame and the Battle of Winterfell episode. So
who knows?
We're done.
Who knows what's happening that week? Hopefully, we live through that episode.
Yeah.
Because who knows? Peace.
Deuces.